Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is your boy Kona Enthusiast. We're back with another video. Today we're going to discuss my thoughts on the Kona N and its track performance, how it does on the track. As you know, my last video was me taking it on the track cross at Virginia International Raceway. So I'm going to talk about my impressions with that, and I figured why not do a POV drive. So let's go ahead and hop in the car, get this car started. Now that I have a garage, I like to start it off in N mode, just because the valves open up sooner than I thought they did. So let's go ahead and start it up. Yeah, that is so loud. I mean, once it idles down, it's pretty tolerable, but still, it's pretty loud. Especially like when you close it, you notice for sure the difference. But yeah, guys, like I said, that's pretty loud right there. So we're about to get ready to head run some errands real quick. So like I said, I want to discuss with you all basically just the things that I like about this car, how it performed so well on the track that day. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive right into it. So the first thing that I noticed with the track, basically, first thing I noticed was just how amazing this transmission is. I know a lot of people, talk about, manual's the way to go, blah, blah, blah. To me, a great alternative to a manual is a dual clutch. That's just my honest opinion. You do have the ZF 8-speed and the Dodges that are amazing, same with the BMW. You have the 10 speeds that are the Mustangs. All of that, but this dual clutch is just super smart. It reads your mind so well around town every day, and on the track it just exacerbates that ability right there. I really love how well it read my mind. So the entire time I was on the track for all of those sessions, maybe 3 hours or whatever, basically you didn't have to question whether or not the car was going to downshift for you or put you in the right gear. Every time I went to a corner, I was coming out of the corner in the right gear, or at least it had one gear to downshift. But for the most part, I didn't really have to worry about that. I may have used paddles twice, maybe 3 times the entire time, just to like get exhaust noise before I hit a corner or whatever. But I genuinely can say this transmission is it's amazing. I mean, for this $35K price point, the transmission is just amazing on track. Like in N mode, which is basically track mode, it kept me in the best gear every single time. It downshifted. It didn't over downshift. It didn't over upshift. It was just right. And for those of you who own the Ns, you know what I'm about to say. But basically, the N track sense is amazing. I mean, we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But it really helped with the transmission, because the transmission wasn't as eager to do any kind of shifting. It just made sure I was in the meat of my power band. And especially with me being tuned, I think I was on map 2 that day. And so especially considering that, basically, you have more power for the transmission to try to figure out what's the optimal gearing point. And I still didn't have any issues with that. So yeah, pretty happy with that. The second thing that I absolutely love about this car on the track is the differential. Honestly, this electronic limited slip diff is so magical. I like to call it the magic diff. I mean, it does a really good job. I mean, coming out of corners, I literally can go maybe halfway out of the corner. I would be able to hit the gas all the way, and it yanked you essentially. It didn't pull you, it snatched you out of the corner. I mean, it got you out, and it rotated so smoothly with the suspension and adjustable dampers and stuff. And it's kind of funny, speaking of the dampers, it's kind of funny because the suspension dampening seems so stiff when you put it in N mode when you're around town. On the track, obviously, I would hope the pavement is smooth, but I mean, I didn't really have any issues. If anything, I loved N mode for the suspension the entire time. But yeah, back to the diff. I mean, it did really good. I didn't really have any traction issues. I mean, like left to right, the vectoring, the torque vectoring was just amazing. For it to be a front wheel drive, I didn't really have any complaints about whether or not I could get traction. I didn't have any worries about that. So Yeah, I can honestly say it was really really good. So I'm definitely happy with that as well. But anyways, yeah. So that's my biggest thing is just how well it did in the corners with that differential. The next thing, of course, like I just mentioned, is the suspension. I mean, it's so funny how this thing works. So going through a couple corners, I guess whenever N tractions kicked in, I don't know about the Luntrians, but I know the Velocitarians and the Kona Ns are kind of drift happy in a sense. Like they tend to do 3-wheel drifts. I'm not sure if the Launcher has that same issue, but it's kind of comical because I know there were a couple turns where I literally felt the car sliding, like, which is weird because it's front wheel drive, but I literally felt the back end rotating around, and it just handled it so smoothly. Like the electronic dampers did such a good job. Like whenever that wheel in the back got back on the ground, you didn't feel like the car was slamming back down. I really didn't even feel it get off the ground, to be honest. The only reason I knew was because I know one of my turns I took, which I didn't record that lap. I wish I would have, but I took that corner, gotta be 80 miles an hour, or not 80, maybe 70, but before I had gone 55, 60. So I took it a little fast and I felt the car start to drift. I look in the mirror, you could literally see just everything lifting up back there on the right side. And so that was pretty funny to see, but it handled it. I didn't panic and think I was gonna crash. And I mean, between the differential and the suspension, you really don't have to worry about understeering off the track, especially like even if you're new at racing at the track. You have a good idea of where is the too far limit. How far are you going with this car? And I mean, between the amazing brakes with stopping and just the magic of the suspension and everything, you really don't have to worry about going off the track. I mean, it lets you know very well, like, hey, you're pushing the car a little too much, back off a little bit, which again is great because most front wheel drives are just understeer off the track. Obviously Type R, GTIs, those cars are, maybe not the GTI, but definitely the Type R, they have a ELSD up front, and so we have that right there. It helps a lot with being a front wheel drive. I never felt like, oh, I need to be all wheel drive. I never felt like, oh, I wish I was rear wheel drive. I never wished that the whole time. And honestly, with it being front wheel drive and having that LSD, I was glad it was front wheel drive, to be honest, because it probably helped me do a lot of my turns as far as the timing for that lap, because I was able again to hit the gas out of that. The next thing I want to talk about is brake performance. I'll make that really quick. So the brakes did really really good. I do have upgraded pads. I don't know how much life is left on that. I'll check that at some point, but basically the pads did really really well. And I'm going to go ahead and change this setting because literally, like, it's just pop, pop, pop. So we're going to put in a sport transmission setting over here. So anyways, yeah, the brakes did really good. I mean, I didn't really deal with any fading that I can remember. And honestly, I'm just, again, it was one lap, and then you finish that lap and you go on to the next one. Or you take a break, go back to your grid, right? And then you go into the next lap. So honestly, I didn't really have any concerns about the brakes life the entire time. I think it did really well. And then the biggest thing, as far as me with the brakes, like at the end, you had to kind of get on the brakes kind of hard in order to be able to stop for the finish line. Like once you get to the finish line, you have to stop so you can go back to the grid. And I mean, you had maybe 0.1 miles to get out of, from 70, 80 down to, 0 real quick. And the brakes did really good. I didn't really have to slam them all the way. I just got on about 50%. And they did good. So yeah, that's the braking performance. The next thing I want to brag on with this car and just really acknowledge is the fact that the cooling system, I mean, is really good. As you know, in that race or in those track days, I was basically on JB4 Map 2. This was prior to my injector going out. So with that, I thought my car was performing well that day. Apparently it was not, but even aside from that, the cooling was really well. The transmission didn't feel like it was overheating. Brakes didn't feel like it was overheating. The oil temp may have got up to 222. Again, this was just a 1 mile lap, but it was a very aggressive track per se because you were constantly on throttle. At least I was through the corners a lot. Anyways, the oil temps were really well. The engine temp did really well. I didn't really have any issues. The only issue I could say I had the whole day As far as temperatures, probably in the tires, in a sense, like you could tell they started getting, you know, a little worn. I wouldn't say worn, but you could tell like it started sliding a lot more. And my tire pressure just was a struggle the entire time. Like it, you know, typically my front right tire, which you may see it on the screen, my front right tire always runs lower than the front left. I don't know why. The driver's side tire does better than the passenger side, but my passenger side typically loses air. Not that day. I mean, constantly both tires, really all the tires kept going over that PSI that I wanted. I think I wanted at 30 or 32 PSI, and they just kept going up to 34-inch laps. So I had to get out the car and you know, de-air the tires. Finna do some shenanigans. Yeah, that never gets old. Again, I didn't really have any concerns as far as whether or not the car was going to stay cool. My main concern was just the tires, pressure going up, which made traction difficult in some of my laps, especially as the temperatures got up in the day. The tire pressure just obviously kind of went up. I'm on map 3 right now, and whoa, why would you turn in front of me? Yeah, so I'm on map 3 right now. I got the injectors fixed a little bit ago, as you all know. And so I've been playing around in map 3. I'm actually probably going to switch back to map 2 after this video, just to preserve the life of the car. But I've been a little addicted with map 3 because, as you know, for the longest I've been having issues with injectors, with just different things. So running map 3 wasn't the smoothest. Yeah, I'm gonna try to give y'all a good view of what this 0 to 60 is gonna look like whenever this light does turn green. But yeah, so anyways, the track performance was just really well, or really good. Again, I'm thoroughly happy with this car. I can't recommend it enough. I mean, the track performance is just amazing. I honestly think it's a really good deal for this car. Also the Kona N, which performs a little bit better because they have different suspension components and chassis bracing. They got the, you know, the, what do you call it, the sway bar in the back. So all of that right there. But anyways, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do a 0 to 60 pull as soon as this light turns green. Whoa. Not whoa to the 0 to 60, but whoa to, like, we almost crashed. This big SUV hopped out in front of this car in my right lane, and I mean, I apparently didn't see me for whatever reason. But yeah, so that was pretty quick. 0 to 60, first gear, it hooked, and then as I was crossing over the intersection, things got a little bumpy. I can say on a regular street, if I'm gonna do 0 to 60s, typically I do it in my custom setting, which has the Salter suspension setting. I set everything else to Sport Plus usually, but that's something that you won't, because I mean, it is for 0 to 60 purposes, or anytime you're trying to accelerate, the bounciness on public roads is just too much for acceleration. It's almost, honestly, it is dangerous. There's no almost, it is dangerous, because I mean, right there, it was just, as you saw, it was just having a hard time keeping the tires on the ground, or not on the ground, but just, you know, gripping. But anyways, guys, yeah, like I said, I'm happy with the car's performance. I can't recommend this car enough. So for those of you who may not have watched the video yet, I'm gonna put a link to it so you can go ahead and watch it. But basically, I placed 6 out of 21 in my heat for that day. There was 21 people. There was different cars, like, you know, heavily modified STI. There was a Moss, whatever you want to call it. It was basically a Corvette, a different variant of a Corvette. There were a couple of Miatas and S2000s. So to place 6 out of 21 against a lot of cars that were track capable, I was honestly happy. And then as far as for the overall day, I placed 18 out of 53. They had a lot of, you know, higher performing cars there. They had in the Kona N, actually, and they placed 3rd, I believe, overall for the day. So probably better driver mod, if I had to guess. And I mean, because he was completely stock from what he told me, so probably just a better driver mod, and the fact that the launcher is a better handling car. But I mean, if you look at, like, just from my placement to his placement, we were only about 4 seconds apart. And I believe I mentioned this in that video, what probably hurt me with my time 100% was probably the fact that I was hesitant at the top of the apex at the end of the lap, because I just couldn't get a good gauge on it. Somebody told me what to do at the end, but unfortunately they wouldn't let us do another run after that. But if you look at that curve going up to the top and curving over to the right, that probably would have been a, you know, if I had went into that full throttle, that would have easily shaved off 2 seconds minimum. So I definitely would have placed higher. Definitely not have been first place, but would have been top 10 for sure. So yeah, I wasn't too far off from the launcher in. I think just better driver mod and the fact that it's a better car. But in his race, he had some cars that were, you know, a little bit more stout than what I had in my race. They had Camaro SS1LEs, there were GT350s, there were just various cars that were just really good for the track, and my time was actually faster than theirs. Camaro SS was like within a half a second of me, but still, like, considering that this front wheel drive SUV, I was the only SUV, by the way, performed that well, that's great. I believe the first place car overall for the day was the Mini Cooper. They put on their Mini Cooper S. Their capping is definitely a John Cooper's work, or either a heavily modified Mini Cooper. But yeah, so that car, whatever, they got first place. So yeah, I'm really happy with the way it performed, and I really can't wait to get it out on the track again. Hopefully I get it out before next year Hyperfest. I plan on it. I just want to hopefully get me a true track setup at some point. But yeah, I'm finna do one more round of shenanigans in this parking garage. I specifically went to the grocery store just for this. I'm sure everybody's gonna be looking at me crazy when I get ready to park. But anyways, so yeah, like I said, I really recommend this car. I do want to take on a track again. My biggest thing is that, again, I want to make sure I have a true track tire at this one, because I'm running on all season tires and they're doing fine. I just would like to actually have a little bit better of a tire next year. That way I know for sure there's like no excuse as to why I can't get, you know, better times. So, and then also next year I'm not gonna do the track cross. I might do it still, but my main focus is going to do the hyperdrive. I'll definitely do that. The hyperdrive is basically like the track cross. The only difference is being that the track cross is just one lap, and the what do you call it? The hyperdrive is the same course. It's just non-stop laps. I think it's a 20 or 30-minute session, and that's kind of how I'll do next year. And then the year after that, hopefully I have my licensing and stuff to do road racing and doing actual racing on VRR. I may still have the Kona N at that point come 2025. Who knows? Who knows what the world is to bring, you know, hopefully not another pandemic or anything crazy like that. But that's my plans, to either have this so ready for a true track day against other cars that are just amazing on the track, that are heavily modified, or get to a point to where I have another car, you know, whether it be the RS3 or the CT4V Blackwing. Those are the two top things I really want to get next. I actually would love to have an Acura Integra Type S. That's something I really would like to have if I would still want to go the 4-cylinder route. I love Hyundai, and I would love to, you know, get another Hyundai. I may go the electric route, but I know a lot of tracks are still iffy about electric cars being on the track. Drag strips are cool with it, but like I think their biggest thing is that they don't have charging stations at these racetracks yet. So who knows how things will change by 2025. But yeah, anyways, guys, that's pretty much the plans for this. I will track it again for sure next year. In the next year, I'll be doing some more drag racing. I got to get an oil change, which I probably should be doing pools, but I got to get an oil change in the next couple of weeks. I'm probably gonna park the car for a few weeks. For a good bit, probably drive it maybe once a week, and once I get my oil change, I'm gonna head back out to the drag strip for July. The next available oil change is July 5th, so after that I'll definitely get back at the racetrack. And we also have some stuff coming up, you know, as far as cars and coffee, different things like that. I also have import face-off coming up. We have a lot of N owners who's going to be joining me at that event out there in Charlotte. So that'll be really fun to watch some drag racing. And yeah, so just stay tuned for more content. We have a lot of videos that will be coming out in the next couple weeks. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you click on that notification bell. Also, make sure you follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is icy_Kona_N. I appreciate you watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this POV view. I'm going to try to do more POV drives at some point. Other than that, guys, I hope you all enjoyed the rest of your your week?